Hello, I'm Firebat from Team Archon. I think that the Undertaker nerf is really good for the game. I thought the Undertaker wasn't fun. Snowball effect made a lot of games completely unwinnable, and I'm really glad it's gone. And I hopefully can open up some more fun decks to be able to be played. Huffer, definitely Huffer. There's like no other answer to that one. You gotta hit him in the face. Any event, probably Hearthstone related. I would like to go back in time and see Artosis try and execute his own Sylvanas. I think that would be a hilarious event to witness, like live. In a bar fight, I'd have to choose Hosty. He's a friend of mine. I lived with him. He's a giant.
Hello, my name is Druid. My nickname is Mr.Yagut, and right now I'm 20 years old. The, the Undertaker nerf was kind of necessary, but they didn't nerf it in a good way. They should have nerfed it in another way. Like, it's almost unplayable right now. I would be a Misha. It would be the European Blitzcrank qualifier. It would probably be Fraser, because he is a good friend with me.
All right, you saw? I told you he would be Huffer. I told you Firebat would be Huffer.
Well,
Like, it's just so obvious.
good call.
Yeah. He's just like, he's the kind of guy who just, plays Hunter, goes face, doesn't care, and eventually wins. You know what I find really weird about Firebat, and at the same time it's really just awesome? He seems like he's so laid back and doesn't care, yet he puts a lot of preparation in his play. And that's really something I like about him.
Yeah, like you say, he brings Hearthstone to science actually, and that's the thing I've been trying to do, but I don't have the dedication that he has, and that's probably why he got first place at BlizzCon.
Yeah,
And I
definitely. I
didn't
mean,
even get to the quali.
yeah, there's a lot of yeah, it's all about being consistent, and I think when it comes to tournaments like these where there is a possibility of a qualifier to go through, it can also it's not just invitational. Getting to the qualifier is pretty tough, and that's all about being consistent. And Firebat's shown that he was consistent. It's like Zixo that got picked up by Team Archon. That guy ended up doing. He went through so many qualifiers for tournaments in his life, and finally he's to the point where he might he's gonna get invited.
Mhm.
He's finally at that point, and I feel like that's really great for Hearthstone when you see really consistent players make it to the point where they get a free ticket to events because they've been just so good in the past and they just keep performing.
Yeah, and it's a matter of balance as well, because if you do qualifiers, you keep two players from the qualies, but then Zixo is one of them all the time. I mean, you gotta let room for regular players, right? So
Yeah,
you better
exactly.
invite Zixo.
Yeah, this guy's always winning tournaments. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Um, like he always goes to the qualifiers and runs into some bad, results or RNG in the game, and everything goes to crap after the qualifiers finish. So he's never had time to shine, and now he kind of does. So now we're gonna jump into first game: Firebat versus Mr.Yagut. Now, Firebat, I believe, banned the Shaman from Mr.Yagut,
Yes,
which
unfortunately.
is unfortunate because we really wanted to see that.
All right, so Mr. Yagut went with Miracle with one sprint. Doesn't mean he doesn't have gadgets down apparently.
It might not be Miracle Rogue. It might just be. Well, I mean, we see Shiv, so we have to assume there's at least a little bit of that. Mr. Yagut is fairly known for bringing odd decks to tournaments. I'd say that's like his trademark approach to deck build to tournament play. Two sprints in this deck, so we have to
Yep.
expect the double prep. And
And
Fire
Firebat
Ballad.
also runs Loot Hoarders. I had no idea. Did they get buffed or something? Like,
I'll
why
tell you
is
what
it?
happened. The deck he's running used to run Undertakers. And now that Undertaker's not a thing, you play Loot Hoarders, and you know how you win? Always. You just this is the type of deck. It's like
It's a
the most aggressive Druid. That's well, okay. I'm exaggerating because there have been attempts at making hyper aggressive Druid work with echoing oozes and early Savage Wars. But this is the most consistent double combo Druid type of list that I've seen, and I believe this might be pretty much exactly the same thing that Aziz played in the King Win tournament, aside from maybe Undertakers getting taken out and Hoarders being put in.
And so this would be pretty good against Miracle, and Mr.Yagut has double sprint in hand, but no prep. That's not something you want to see.
Yeah, I think he needs Fan of Knives to eventually deal with the board. At least the Withering Farseer is not a bad tempo play in this case. I think it's going to actually give him the value that he wants out of it.
Wow,
I think
and
Firebat
Firebat just draws the
face.
plays, no problem.
He draws in Ghostface, that's it. Like, Firebat just Ghostface. Don't... like I told you, man, if he could be a minion, he would be Huffer, and that won't change. Alright, but there is a good answer here to the current board state. There is no Fan of Knives, unfortunately, because that would have been way too helpful.
Yeah, Drake backstab's not too bad. You clear one of the 2 minions. The 3/3 Shade's not doing a lot currently, so...
This prep sprint is actually like the double eviscerate could lead to some really interesting plays, and the fact that he's got 2 minions that cannot be removed right now outside of using, oh, you've got to be kidding.
Oh,
Do you see what I see? I don't know. I don't think it's worth doing yet because the board is too dangerous for that. But
I think he wants to. I think he wants to keep it so that maybe with Lotheb this turn, Druid with the Claw, maybe in charge next turn, then boom on 7, and then he can innervate combo on 8, being really it's awkward because you lose 1 mana, but if you win the game, you don't care. And just having this combo a turn early can be very surprising.
Yeah, and I feel like if Mr.Yagut plays Lotheb too early, then that combo is going to come out as a big surprise. For instance, if Mr.Yagut decides to play Lotheb next turn on curve, because, it is a 5/5 for 5, which is not negligible. It trades very well with Druid of the Claw with your dagger, so you can always get some pretty good value off of it. If he does that, then his follow-up defensive potential against the Innervate combo play is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, but if Firebat Lotheb's Mr.Yagut doesn't have any other play unless he top decks it, but so far Lotheb is the only play.
Yeah,
because you
and
can't
I feel
just
like
pass.
Yeah, you have to top deck something else to justify changing your line of play. But there's very little that you would be happier to play than Lotheb here. I mean, you can't play spells, that's for sure. I guess Sludge Belcher I'd consider.
Yep. Alright, so Lotheb's gonna be. And is Mr. going to be able to... Oh, wow. Just going face.
He has to go face. He completely has to. Because he's going to capitalize on the fact that he's then going to have a board and the ability to play all his cards, basically. The Fan of Knives double eviscerate, with the prep play is just so easy to use as a board wipe or as an instant win. Because look at the amount of damage that's on the board for Mr.Yagut. We didn't really talk about this yet, but he's got a total of 12 damage already on board, and double eviscerate is lethal. So Firebat is in the position of having to play defensively now.
That is right. So, yeah, so Firebat is forced to clear. If he only kills the Farseer, he also dies because of the spell power from the Drake and the dagger. So he's gonna have to trade minions.
And you know what? He's got a really decent way to do it. I don't think I would play a taunt here because I'm vulnerable to sap, eviscerate, or any combination of a sap plus damage dealing spells.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be really wary of that. So he's gonna have to charge for removal, but he's gonna be able to do it very, very well. No, he can't possibly go face with these two minions.
If he kills the Drake, he's fine.
Yeah, that's all he has to do.
Yeah.
And he does.
And keeps the Shade.
So how much damage is there here on Mr.Yagut's side? We're looking at 8 on board. He needs to find 12 more, which he does not have.
Oh, wait. Okay, I just realized Firebat has lethal next turn.
Yeah, he does, of course.
Even if Lotheb dies, that is lethal.
Yeah. the Shade plus the Force of Nature combo is instant kill. Mr.Yagut needs to kill his opponent now, or he's going to be out of the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's only 8... There's 16 damage. That's not lethal. So, you gotta prep fan and hope for the best, I guess.
Prep fan and hope for what?
I have no idea.
You could fan of knives and prep for something, but I don't know what it would be.
If you prep fan and you get a Belcher, you're alive. if you run one.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You know what? You have to go for that play, because you have to assume... The thing is, do you really play around combo with Innervate here?
I don't think you do. Usually it's a losing play to do so. Sometimes you're gonna lose against an innervated combo, but most of the time, you shouldn't play around it. So
yeah, I feel like it's not worth doing. I feel like the proper play is what he's doing right now, which, although he's gonna lose the game, is still the way to approach this, because you can't assume that your opponent always has, you know, innervate combo on turn 7. It's just not realistic at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mr.Yagut played it well, and most of the time he would have been in a great position, but unfortunately he's playing against a world champion, so
he's got all the top deck skills he wants. You know, he's got all these connections at Blizzard to give him that innervate combo on turn 7. Yeah, so that's game 1 for Firebat against Mr.Yagut. That's a really quick game. I don't think Rogue is, you know, highly favored in this matchup, so it's not that big of a surprise to see what we saw. But I thought there was, for a second there, if Firebat had made a different play with the Druid of the Claw, instead of trading into that Earthling Farseer, into that Drake, then things could have gone differently. Because he didn't have the Loatheb initiative at that point.
Yeah. So excellent call from Firebat to realize that he was in lethal range the following turn, and that he had to kill that Drake because he could have died to double Eviscerate.
Yeah, exactly. I think that makes a lot of sense. So Mr.Yagut's remaining decks are Warrior and Druid. He's lost his Shaman. Firebat banned the Shaman. I don't exactly know why he would do so. I guess because there's depending on how it's stacked, it's probably going to be very heavy on the ability to answer early threats. Feral Spirit's a problem if you're playing Firebat's deck at the moment. Unless you start ramping out very quickly, which is a bit difficult. So I feel like banning Shaman is kind of a safe ban, because you don't know what it's going to be. There's not a lot of it. And now that leaves you a Druid and a Warrior to beat as Firebat.
Yeah, and Shaman's also quite unpredictable, because, I mean, no one brings it, because a lot of, well, only 3 persons brought it, because a lot of people think it's not currently that viable. So if someone is feeling confident enough to bring a Shaman, it might surprise you.
Yeah, exactly. It might have exactly the things you don't want to see. And Mr.Yagut's Druid actually with a Zombie Chow here. Do we have to assume it's more of a control deck in this case? This is not something you tend to run very frequently in aggressive Druid decks.
Yeah, there's somewhat of an anti-synergy between Zombie Chow and Bursting with combos, so...
I'm Firebat's hand again, you know? Right up there. That shade, ladies and gents, that shade.
Yeah. Mr.Yagut really wants to get a Wild Growth next turn. That would be excellent.
This is a good curve, though. It's not a Wild Growth, but mind you, it's a really good turn 3, considering your opponent is going to be playing on curve. Firebat's going to play it a little bit more slowly this game. He plays Zombie Chow.
Oh, wow. I don't know what to expect anymore.
Yeah, it's a good body against, you know, other smaller minions, and you can complement it with your hero power. It's not a bad card to run in combo decks, but I feel like, especially with the removal Undertaker, it loses a lot more value than it might have had initially.
I'm quite surprised that Firebat didn't innervate the Shade on turn 1.
Yeah, I thought he would.
I mean, I would have done it, but he probably knows better, so I'm really wondering why he didn't. So it would have got +2/+2 for that innervate. Does he really need the innervate that early? Well, is he gonna... Oh.
Innervate coin Dr. Boom? That's possible.
Oh, it could be the play.
Yeah, it's actually really aggravating when you've got a Shade on the board and you want to protect her, and the opponent's staring you down with his own Shade. Like, and he's got a good swipe follow-up. He's got amazing follow-ups, in fact. Like, turn 5, it's going to be Harvest Golem, Loot Hoarder, a swipe to, you know, remove what's left on the board. And Mr.Yagut's going to feel a little threatened here. I mean, even Savage Roar is making you want to just jump off a cliff.
Yeah, totally. So do you send your shade to the face because you hope it doesn't die, and then
you attack.
you hit?
I don't know.
Yeah, send your shade to the face, trade the zombie chows, send Tuzzingo into boom and swipe, and hope that your shade lives.
You know what? Send shade into boom and then swipe boom.
And then you keep the
Like,
taunt.
you attack the zombie chow with your chow. You attack and you keep the taunt. Yeah, well, most of the time at least. But how bad of a play is that tempo-wise? You're back, like your opponent gets the initiative so hard here, and with bad boom bots, you lose the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing. I mean, 2 boom bots to the face, and you're super far ahead. But
Yeah.
2 boom bots could kill your Tuzzingo or your shade, whatever you keep alive, and then you're so far behind. But you just can't let this live, right? I mean, I don't think shade is a play. Drake is a play. So
No. Oh my goodness, no.
so he's gonna swipe first. If the bombs kill a minion that hadn't attacked yet, this is gonna be so devastating.
This is perfect for him right now.
Okay, yeah, this is awesome.
This is as good as it's gonna get for Mr.Yagut as far as bomb allocation goes. Alright, so the budget of the boombots has been expended. Firebat no longer has them, and that means he's gonna have to keep going with the board. I mean, the hand that he's got right now. And I don't think it's that bad. I think it's perfectly fine. They both have really good follow-ups, and even I'd venture to say that Mr.Yagut's follow-ups are almost a tiny bit better.
This taunt is very interesting because Mr.Yagut could have a Black Knight. I mean, it's ran in Druids, so
This looks like
Firebat.
it looks like Shade. I think Firebat's deck is a mirror of Mr.Yagut's, or the other way around, whatever you want to put it. I feel like they're both running the exact same, if not a very, very similar deck list. And maybe Firebat doesn't put his opponent on a Black Knight in a very, aggressive Druid deck with double Drake, if that were to be the case. But then again, he hasn't seen anything yet.
Yeah, does Firebat know for sure that Mr.Yagut's not playing a later game? Because
Firebat knows his opponents. Firebat is, as I said, very, very... he plans a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if he planned for something along the lines of what's happening here. He would know, if anything, what's currently getting played by the opponent. Yeah, scouting is a pretty common practice now in Hearthstone. You got people scouting for you, you don't even have to try.
Oh, and it's very important too.
Yeah. Do you play Keeper of the Grove to silence the shade off, and then you pass the turn? Or do you have to swipe the shade?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say I like this, but I feel like this is a less awkward play.
Yeah, you can't trade because... Oh, you can't trade. You would die if you did. Because you then give him the initiative and you're on the back end, on the back foot for the rest of the game. If he had a Wrath in hand, perhaps he could have, because Azure Drake Wrath would have been a decent follow-up. But as it is, he can't afford sacrificing the shade without having tempo. Alright. Yeah, you know what? That Zombie Shao helping curve out a little bit. That's actually really good.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
And thinking back on it, I think it makes so much sense because of Paladin being in the metagame. Like, shielded mini-bots died to this. You can deal with knife jugglers, you can deal with the 1/1s. I feel like I see now why that makes sense. It would not be a card I would auto-include every time, but when you consider the fact that Paladin is just so prevalent, then it suddenly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and also the against the mech mages, you just cannot wait for your Wrath or your swipe. You want to play stuff early, and I've been trying to experiment with zombie chows to counter them, but I haven't got to working decks like these.
Yeah, and I feel like
really
this
like
is
them.
really functional.
Yep. So Lothab here, is Mr.Yagut overcompensating for last game's Innervate combo by playing Lothab here, or?
I don't think so. I think what he's trying to do is, if he plays any other minion, he's hyper vulnerable to swipe and Wrath cycles, and by playing Lothab, he's making sure that he's locking down his opponent's mana, so that at least the trades that will occur will have to deal with the board itself, as opposed to being spell-based.
That's a good point.
It will allow him to stabilize a little bit.
Especially since next turn he'll be able to kill the Chow, so he's gonna get a little bit more HP and be be able to stabilize out of combo range.
Yeah, and he is telegraphing that Keeper of the Grove harder than I've ever seen anyone
Yeah.
telegraphing that thing. This is incredible.
Yeah, but he won't have the mana to hero power next turn, so might as well do it.
Yeah, no, definitely, it makes a lot of sense, but it's just, the telegraph is just so massive. Alright, so this is an interesting turn. But right now, Firebat's hand is looking like, hey, if you let anything live, you might get punished.
Yeah,
that
Firebat's
Savage
just
Roar.
looking for one of the 2 Force of Natures that he runs. Because I assume he runs 2.
And what this deck, the strength of this deck is that you really don't need the Force of Nature. You can often make do without it because you've got so many minions, especially with Powdered Shredders. You know, he doesn't have any right now, but it's one of the strengths of the deck that you have so much potential to just stick on the board. And I think that's what makes the decks great.
Okay, Mr.Yagut found healing, so if he manages to stabilize and he has the better minions, he might be able to take this game.
Yeah, he has to kill the Zombie Chow though, because right now Savage Roar is just such a devastating blow. If he kills anything else, leaving a body on the board that doesn't heal him is going to be really problematic. Oh no. So he doesn't think he's dead, is what that means.
Well, I think his call is if there's combo, I die. If there's no combo, I don't. So might as well kill the guy that has more HP so I can keep her the 2/2 later.
Yeah,
I think that's a call.
He's gonna be staring down a lot of damage.
Dude, he doesn't have to heal this turn. So in a way, he's
I
kind
get
of
it,
blocking
but
his next
he's
turn.
removing the same amount of damage either way. I guess the only difference is if you're planning to play Keeper of the Grove as a follow-up, because right now Firebat's single Savage Roar is going to put him up to 12 damage, I believe. He's gonna go up to 8 on board, 10 in hand, and then 4 from swipe. So he's like he's too off lethal, which I guess is a little bit lucky for Yagut that he doesn't have to deal with that.
Well, is there? There wasn't any lethal this turn that wasn't highly unlikely. So I don't
Double
think
Savage
it would
Roar,
have been a. Oh yeah, double roar would have been lethal. So actually,
But I think he's playing this properly regardless, because the odds of, Firebat having 2 ofs at the point where he's drawn, 13 cards of his deck, it's fairly slim. But you see, Firebat putting a lot of pressure here, swipes a minion, prevents Mr.Yagut from capitalizing on something like another Wrath for card cycle, and he's going face. He's got the Savage Roar, all he needs is to be able to stick on the board. But from what we see here, this is going to be tough, because there's an Ancient of Lore that can heal up, there's a Lothar that can kill a Zombie Chow. It's a pretty bad trade, I'll give you that, but it at least buys enough time to for Mr.Yagut to stabilize.
yeah,
And
you can
even-
you can
Go ahead.
heal up to 20 and then hero power the 2/1, and then even if your opponent has combo next turn, you're still at 1 HP, which is definitely not enough, but at least you live.
Yeah, you'll be fine though, because he needs to then top deck Druid of the Claw or his other Force of Nature. So I feel like just maximum healing play here could make a lot of sense, depending on what you're putting your opponent on.
Yeah, because he has way more resources, so in the long term he's gonna win as long as he doesn't die. And that's what he chose to do.
And the Wrath cycle comes up, which is going to be... I mean, you could play it with the Harvest Golem to kill that 5/5.
Yeah, but that's...
Double cycle, I think, here is a play.
Yeah.
You just try to draw your combos. And oh,
wait.
an amazing card here from Wrath
Okay,
for Firebat.
You draw your cards and you go face, most likely.
Yeah, definitely. This is way too good of an opportunity to skip, and Firebat sees it and just gets the card that he wants. He's running double Loot Hoarder. I feel like this is what we saw from Carlos earlier.
There's the combo. Is it worth innovating the loot since you have combo next turn? And you want to... As
I
long
would
as you have
consider
one
it.
minion on board.
I would consider it.
Yeah, because if your opponent swipes, then it's pretty bad. The Golem is very sticky. Yeah, I like this play from Firebat. And even if the Loot Hoarder dies, it's still a free card. Oh.
What?
Well,
That is not what I expected.
that's a draw. So I think I disagree with the mirror thing you were talking about.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think
it's
Mr.
definitely
Yagut's
not a
mirroring
mirror
now.
match right now. This is not it at all.
Wow. So is Mr. Yagut even playing combo?
I'm starting to doubt it. I'm thinking he's running a Ram Druid with double Azure Drake instead of Senjins because he's not afraid of Undertakers.
Wow.
That's kind of what it's starting to look like. A ramp with wild growth is not something. I mean, ramp with zombie chows is an old kind of druid type
Yep.
of deck list. It's very effective against early game Pally in this case, but
And this is pretty nice. Ancient of War, Shade. Mr.
it'll do
Yagut's on his way to
nothing. But
plays.
it's cute.
Okay, this is a combo for sure.
Yeah.
Then you hope
There-
to draw the second one ASAP.
Yeah. There's nothing. It doesn't even matter. I mean, look, he's got another loot hoarder. Mr. Yagut needs to find some really, really good answers. But between the Ancient of War and his own health pool, he's sitting at 24. So he's tanking a lot of damage here. That is incredible.
Mr.
He's gonna
Yagut's
take another 12.
5. My bad. And there's okay, yeah. Is there? That's
There's
not
that,
enough.
but it's not. Well, 5 puts you on 10.
No,
Yeah, you're
he
alive.
can with the shade. So he has to show the shade. That there's still hope.
So is this where you wild growth, cycle, and hope for Ancient of War number 2? And if that doesn't work, then you Ancient of War heal.
Is the odds must be like 1 in 16 at this point?
So
Something like that.
you're better off just hero powering, and
I guess.
for that
You
extra
wanna-
1 extra health.
Yeah, you go up at. This is so awkward.
Yeah. He knows his deck better than we do. I mean, I don't even know if he's got double Ancient of War.
Mhm.
But like, if we run under the assumption that he does, then I think he's gonna at least try to wild growth. Because
he might also just try to keep her the golem and try to gamble on the fact that Firebat doesn't have the second force, but he does the right thing here.
that doesn't seem very likely. Yeah, I think that gamble would not be one that's worth taking. So he's gonna be stabilizing at 11 HP right now, and Firebat needs to find a bit more damage to actually seal the game right here. That Shade of Nax might be it.
And Cycle Wrath, pretty good. And just playing more sticky minions.
Yeah, you know what? That Shade of Nax plus that Harvest Golem. I mean, how exactly does Mr. Like, he's used 2 Ancients of Lore for heals.
Yeah, exactly. And
So-
next turn there's 8 damage charging because you have the Keeper for 2 damage.
And I think this is a good game next turn unless a taunt comes up right now.
I don't see what Mr. Yagut can pull off here. And there's a Keeper, so taunt doesn't do... He runs Black Knight!
Yeah,
was
this
right.
is definitely ramp. Definitely ramp, Druid.
Yeah.
It started off looking way too similar, but it turns out not to be at all the same thing.
Yeah. So this is
So-
game.
I mean, you
And
could
this
cycle, you attack a golem, you cycle 1, and you hope for Druid of the Claw. In theory, it actually buys you a turn.
Yeah. Wow, this game would have been so much different if Mr. Yagut did have that Black Knight on turn 6.
Yeah,
Killing
just
the-
to deal with that Druid of the Claw, yeah. It would be an amazing play.
Wow.
He's got to know that he's dead.
Yeah, well, he still has to do the play that could give him a chance
Hmm
in case Firebat doesn't have damage, but
Well, that would be keep like Azure Drake and no heal, but that doesn't seem. I mean, you just draw, I guess. Why not? But
maybe it sounds the Golem and Hero Power to get 1 more HP. That way you
Yeah.
don't die to
that's what I'm
Keeper
thinking.
Hero Power.
Yeah, from his perspective, I think he has to silence the golem and just
Yeah.
get a little bit of extra health.
But I mean,
He
there are
does.
so many ways for Druid to get that 4 damage.
Druid of the Claw is one of them. Force of Nature
Yep.
is one of them.
Yeah, there's
so that will
many.
be a good game here.
So Firebat is up 2-0 against Mr. Yagut. So
Well played. Well played.
Wow. Okay, so Firebat's aggressive Druid not actually faltering either. I mean, this is incredible
Yeah.
because a lot of people have been, cutting combos from their decks recently because Undertaker was all over the place metagame wise, and post GVG, post Undertaker nerf, post GVG, Post Undertaker nerf, it seems to me like those double combo decks are just coming back in force. Aggro Druid is dominating the metagame overall. It's a deck that's just unstoppable because the amount of card draw, and especially the version with Loot Hoarders, the amount of card draw is just incredibly high.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait to see how ECOP's Weird Warlock's going to do against these fast Druids.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll... I mean, it's got a lot of healing, so the amount of reach that those Warlock decks, I mean, those Druid decks have, are going to get mitigated by perhaps, you know, good Hellfires into healing. Mistress of Pain also demanding an answer, because if they heal too much off of it, then you're going to be in a bit of a sticky spot, since you only have double combo for reach. Could be interesting to see.
Yeah, and now Mr.Yagut's in a really awkward spot, has to 3-0 with his Warrior.
Yeah.
So
against Druid with double combo,
yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's possible. It certainly is possible, but I don't think it's the most likely thing. I'm getting word from the admins right now that Dark Wanix won 3-1 against Maverick in the this group as well. So while we were casting this game, Dark Wanix was playing his match, and he happened to win it 3-1 against Maverick. And Reynad has also defeated Powder.
Oh, so Reynad's still in there. Could go to the finals tomorrow.
Yep, still possible. He managed to get in the losers bracket, gets himself the possibility of still going for the finals. He had a really, bad run against Carlos, but ultimately I think, his rogue deck, his Miracle Rogue deck was pretty good, but Carlos's lineup was just... I mean, he was playing aggro Druid. That's all I have to say at this point. We've seen how good this deck is so far in the tournament.
And so... yeah, this is going to be hard for Mr.Yagut. Not only is he going to have to beat this double combo Druid with Warrior, he's also going to have to win against Rogue and Warlock. And
let's assume he does win against Druid. His Rogue matchup I don't think is highly favored. I think Rogues with Saps have a pretty good way of dealing with Warrior nowadays, and especially since some Warriors, oddly enough, have been cutting Sludge Belchers, something I've noticed a bit more than I thought I would. The taunt line of Warriors getting cut out a little bit.
Well, there's Harrison, so it's not too bad against Rogue. That can help.
This is a really amazing hand for Mr.Yagut. That Fiery War Axe to deal with the Harvest Golem, Zombie Chow starts, the Cruel Taskmaster with the Acolyte of Pain for the card draw. There's no Innervate in Firebat's hand, which is going to let Mr.Yagut breathe a little bit.
So is it worth coining the War Axe here?
No, I don't think so. You're going to mitigate 1 damage by doing so. Because the way this... not even 1 damage, sorry. You're going to mitigate no damage.
But it's mostly in terms of tempo. Since you know that Firebat's running Loot Hoarders, you might want to coin War Axe this turn and follow it up with Cruel Task next turn to kill that loot and keep your charge, have a 2-2 body, but looks like Mr.Yagut doesn't. Mr.Yagut doesn't seem to think it's worth... There's the loot.
Yeah, came out a little late. Firebat has it a bit off curve, but it's not really going to change anything. It's just that if you play the Fiery War Axe on the coin, then you don't really get the opportunity of getting much out of it, because you're sure you're going to kill a Loot Hoarder, but then what's your turn 3? Acolyte of Pain naked against a Harvest Golem? That seems like a fairly weak play unless you've got decent weapon follow-ups.
So baiting the Shade out here, but the Acolyte's going to get silenced, so pretty good. That's a nice War Axe, so...
Yeah, what's amazing here, though, is if you look at the current board state, it's pretty... Honestly, I feel like Mr.Yagut has a really, really nice hand, but those 2 Ancients of Lore are going to be absolutely instrumental in getting Firebat, like, the cards he needs to rush down that Warrior. I mean, Mr.Yagut's start was pretty much top-notch. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this as a Warrior. Fiery War Axe, your Acolyte of Pain, you've got your Cruel Task, you've got a bit of card draw in the shield block as well if the Acolyte gets silenced. That's a pretty good position for Mr.Yagut.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, sure, the Ancients can draw a lot of cards, and that's super good for Druid, but what Mr.Yagut has to do here is to put some pressure so that Firebat cannot afford to spend whole turns drawing cards, so by coining Dr. Boom on 6 would be very strong, and just to, prevent Firebat from playing 5 fights for 7 mana, which isn't very good.
I mean, and right now we see the Iron Juggernaut. I like this. I am liking this.
Okay.
This is a card I haven't seen much in Control Warrior. But I'm glad Mr. Yagut's playing it. I don't know if it'll be, absolutely, important in this game. But Mr. Yagut's current board and hand allows him to deal with the Shade and Drake perfectly without really suffering too much of a drawback as far as board goes, because he keeps his Armor Smith up.
This is great, and this sets up perfectly for a Dr. Boom next turn, or even just a Juggernaut.
Dr. Boom coin is probably one of the strongest plays he can make here, because barring Firebat getting a perfect Innervate top deck here, I don't think his play is going to be that amazing.
Yeah, it's actually... It's very weak, actually. Firebat doesn't have a lot of plays here.
Alright, he cycles for the 1 mana and gets the curve. Alright, the curve has been hit by Firebat here. But
is it
still
enough, though? Is it enough? So now Mr. Yagut could be greedy with this Acolyte, and he does.
Goodness. I think that's gonna get pretty punished.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends what he finds. But I feel like this is more easily punishable than a Dr. Boom play. Although he can point out Rose. No, he can't do much with this.
No, and without any executes or shield slam, I feel like this lets Firebat either play this boom or this lore.
Ancient of Lore?
Yeah, I would have preferred to put pressure as Mr. Yagut here.
Yeah, just counter pressure just to make sure that he gets the ability to answer. But then again, you've still got a shield block. You still haven't played a single shield slam, so you are threatening those. Oh, look at Firebat's hand here. The Innervate is going to allow him to get the Dr. Boom, possibly get a coin, Loot Hoarder if he wants to, or set up some massive tempo swing 1 or 2 turn down the line. Acolyte of Pain could get value here.
Yeah. So
it kills the Cruel Task. Oh goodness, this is horrible.
Oh.
What?
Oh, that stinks so bad.
Oh goodness. I think you just Dr. Boom back.
But then you take 7 to the face. This is so.
What about Coin Ragnaros?
Then it hits the bomb.
Yeah, but then
sure.
I don't
100%.
care because he's not running BGH, right? This is so terrible.
Yeah, okay. I think I prefer Boom than Rag because you can actually pick your targets, the bombs. I mean, yeah. I think I prefer this. You can still Rag next turn if you want to.
No, definitely.
And,
it's just that I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, Firebat can get either a huge chunk of damage and not even play around Sludge Belchers depending on his top decks. Double Innervate.
Are you double Innervate Lothab and win the game?
I think this is it. I think this is
ridiculous.
exactly what you do. This is exactly what you do.
1 turn before your opponent can play Brawl. 2 turns before he can play Brawl on 10.
On 10, yeah.
This is insane.
Is it... I mean, it has to be done, but there's no combo follow-up. He hasn't even found Savage Roar, so...
Do you even care?
I mean, I guess I would, but...
You have 18 damage on the board, and you have a lower follow-up to draw cards if your opponent even manages to deal something.
I guess I'll agree, but I feel like currently, even though it looks like it's an amazing situation, Mr. Yagut has what it takes. I mean, you're threatening. The one upside to this specific circumstance is that you are threatening your opponent beyond belief. I mean, Mr. Yagut will do everything he can to get rid of this board. Everything.
Yeah,
but
he has to kill
Ragnaros
every single minion.
Yeah, but
like,
Ragnaros is so easy to make work in this case. Oh, Acolyte of Pain dies. Are you kidding?
Well... I think it's all about the mind games. Even if Firebat doesn't have combo, Mr. Yagut is 100% certain that Firebat has it. So he's gonna have to trade all his board, and then Firebat can just build up again, draw cards with the lore, and just keep going.
Did you see the bomb for 4 on that Lothab?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
This is the reason Mr. Yagut probably feels safe right now. Any other outcome would have been.
Can you feel
much
safe?
worse. Yeah, I'd feel safe. I would feel
he
safe.
cannot die this turn, but
Not even close, actually.
not sure I'd say he feels safe.
Honestly, I'd feel... Oh, okay, you know what? I'd feel safer than I felt last turn. After seeing the Dr. Boom Lothab play.
That's for sure.
Um,
And there's the first piece of the combo.
yeah, and there's 3 minutes on board, one of which draws a card. There's a Brawl in Mr. Yagut's hand, though. He can't get the amazing Sylvanas turn that he wants.
Yeah,
You know, the
he's
turn
gonna
10
have
Sylvanas coin brawl, like that's the best thing you can do if you're above 14.
That might be his way to victory, but he has to live. That's the thing. I guess you.
What now?
So let's assume you kill a 5/5. I think armoring up might be a good first step, with the shield block, because he probably still has 2 shield slams. He can kill a 5/5 with his 5/5. You use Cruel Task on another one, and even if there's combo, he's not dead yet. He has time for Sylvanas brawl. He won't even be at 14 at that point.
Oh, that's a draw. That is great.
Yeah, that is an insane draw for him.
And then the Sylvanas coin brawl next turn is gonna be.
It's
pretty
game
good.
winning. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a game winning play there. Alright, Mr.Yagut's got to feel a little more comfortable in this position, and if he coins out the Cruel Task, that's because he doesn't want to use the Sylvanas Brawl, but I think it's too good a play to even pass. I can't
Yeah,
imagine anybody would.
Yeah, definitely. Complete clear and make you have a minion and your opponent doesn't. That is excellent.
Yeah, it's one of the best possible ways to keep going here.
Alright, so 2 forces of nature
Where shall I
for Firebat.
Oh, you know what? That Sylvanas Brawl doesn't even help, and this is probably game. Does it help at all? Because if you don't get the Golem token,
I have no time.
I mean, there's he's seen a, you know, he's
There's
seen
no
the,
other play.
yeah,
But if Firebat draws the second part of the combo, it's probably
over.
it's not game.
Yeah,
it's not
but
over right now, but it's pretty bad. Oh, Sylvanas won.
Are
That
you
is
kidding?
That
Oh.
is excellent.
No! Oh no!
She has no
Oh,
time
no.
for games. Doesn't
I
care.
think he has to silence it though. You have to silence Sylvanas. You can't let her get anything.
Second brawl.
Okay, so I think Firebat's gonna just silence her next turn if he needs to go, because she can't die right now, right? She's not even close to dying. Well, I mean, actually, he could attack the Shredder and then Cruel Task her, you're right.
yeah,
you
Cruel
attack
Task Cage and then Belcher? Like this
No, you
actually
attack,
seems-
you attack the Shredder, and then you Cruel Task Sylvanas.
Oh right. And then you Belcher your power.
now?
Yeah. You know what? This game is still anyone's game. Even though I would venture to say that Firebat is far ahead because he's so close to getting those wins.
Yeah.
And this is why Iron Juggernaut just doesn't see much play, because in control mirror matches it's amazing because it's a Pyroblast that just costs you 6, and you're pretty much able to get to the fatigue stage where the likelihood of the mine being drawn is pretty high. But in a situation like this one, it feels like, I mean, what are you gonna use this as, like, against the? Oh no, this is your worst nightmare.
Force of Nature Savage Roar, really? I mean,
Could there have been a worse?
why not have a
draw?
7-3 for combo? Wow.
No,
And it-
he's not afraid.
No. No, he
He has
No,
to.
that's
Come on,
cool.
do it,
He
man.
has to.
Come on. You can't not.
you have to. I mean, there's no way you
He kills the 2-1. Okay, that's fine too, but...
still pretty greedy.
Oh, the mana
It's gotta be
addict.
lethal. It's gotta be lethal.
I don't even want to count it.
Yeah, it's certain. No way. I mean,
There's
the
no way
mana
it's
addict's
not,
going
yeah.
to 7-3.
Shade in your face. Actually, deal with that sludge belcher. So all you have is, like, you've got your mana addict at
Yeah,
7 attack.
That is over lethal by
Yeah, a long shot actually.
5. Yeah, that's 25 damage.
Holy hell. So this
Wow.
is again Druid showing. You know what? I think the next thing people are going to complain against is the ridiculous ability of Druid to make Savage Roar buff things that aren't the Treants themselves, which gives Druid reach beyond reach. As we're looking at right now, like, ignore the mana addict. Let's just pretend it's a normal minion. It still has 3 attack, right?
At the
Which
very
is,
least.
Yeah, it's an incredible minion at this point.
Well,
And that just goes to show how strong Savage Roar is.
yeah.
Wow.
Even Lore Walker Cho that has 0 attack would have been lethal. So,
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it would have been close to lethal. I think it would have been overkill. It would have been missing maybe one. It would have been one off, I think.
no, it would have been exactly lethal. Firebat had 5 over.
Oh, because he actually attacked with the Mana Addict first instead of the Golem, I guess. From what I saw, I think it was 4 over with he was on 1 health and +4 with the Golem, so 3 over. So
Okay, well,
I think Mana Addict actually got the lethal by a tiny margin, but still, the warrior was feeling safe behind a Sludge Belcher, with a Sylvanas up, with armor, and 18 health. I think that's how.
and
Just
anything, even if Mr.Yagut did Cruel Task the Sylvanas, Firebat would have had lethal. Didn't matter what Sylvanas would have stolen.
Mana
So-
Addict. I think Sylvanas might have been like if she'd stolen Mana Addict, that's taking away
7, but
7 damage.
but then he keeps the 4 from the Harvest Golem.
Yeah,
so
he keeps 4
Firebat
from
was over
Harvest.
3 lethal, so that was fine.
Either way, anyway, I can review this game later for my own curiosity if I feel like it. I think the game was ultimately another display of Druid snowballing completely out of control when they get that aggressive start. Firebat went 3-0 against with his Druid. That's another sweep for aggro Druid from Carlos. We saw Carlos initially, then we see Reyna just completely Reyna. We see Firebat. What am I confusing people with? We see Firebat just sweeping again with Druid, and we saw that deck, something very similar in Kingwin. Firebat played a very similar deck with Undertakers pre-nerf, and it was completely insane. And it seems like, even with the nerf, just tweaking the deck a little bit, it gives it just as much validity. The deck is still very strong.
Yeah, it looks like Druid, Sticky Minions, and Cycle is the way to go.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I would have loved to see this warrior play against Warlock, because then the bomb becomes very, very strong.
Yeah,
the Iron Juggernaut,
Mhm.
always threatening to deal 10 damage to a Warlock at the start of their turn, or when they tap.
Yeah,
is,
they're actually
is
afraid of it
weird.
because they might just die. I've seen, however, a circumstance which was kind of funny where they abused the mine to get Molten Giants out much earlier than they otherwise would. When it happens by accident, sometimes it's actually a drawback. So you have to play the Iron Juggernaut like way late in the game, where you're finally, about to win and be able to seal it right afterwards. Because if they get Moltens early, it can be a little bit of a drawback. So we have the next match. It's going to be Nimsh versus Thais. So we're moving on to we're still in the...
Coming back to Group A.
Yeah, coming back to
And,
Group A here, Nimsh versus Thais is going to be playing. I think
both
Nimsh, they're both 1-0, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we have Nimsh versus Thais, and then Kranich versus...
All right. Well, it looks like Noxious Cut